Thank you, Leia.
Hi, welcome everyone. I just want to do a short welcome to everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. And just want to give you guys a little bit of background and a few rooting us in where we are in the moment. So TCI is trying to meet the moment and where we are. It is kind of a big moment. We're facing some challenges in climate change, persistent economic uncertainties, deep social divisions, and trying to adapt to a rapidly evolving global landscape. We do know that 1 in 3 people are lonely, and we are in a loneliness epidemic, and that our youth are anxious, and 60% of them say that they're worried about the climate crisis, and half of those say that it impacts their daily lives. But it is in these times that our strength is not defined by our national policies, but it's rooted in the resilience of our local communities. We sit in our local communities, and that is where we find our strength. So that's what TCI is working hard to do, to provide tools and resources for youth and educators to work together to build more vibrant and resilient communities. I didn't say this, and I wish I did, but I found it today. Youth may only be 30% of our population, but they are 100% of our future. And so TCI is working really hard with our educators to make sure that we empower them to help build those stronger communities for all of our futures. We're working really hard, not just to give them hope, but to give them determination, because that's what we really do need. So we've been working really hard during Earth Month. And we were very busy trying to build partnerships from coast to coast and build community from coast to coast, presenting the John Mathers Climate Action Leadership Program for 50 young women across Texas at EarthX in Girls Lead the World. It was a STEM initiative for young women. Right here at home at the University of New England, showing how climate intersects with all different kinds of careers and that any career can be a green career and a choice that anyone can make. We even got to be in front of Arnold Schwarzenegger at the Aspen Institute Climate Summit, and our organization was asked to present about our organization and how to be a sustainable organization at the New Hampshire Land Trust Conference, because we really do try to live our mission inside our organization as well as we live it outside our organization. And then just today, we were asked to join Governor Mills and Director Hannah Pingree at a roundtable with town managers and town planners in York County to discuss the importance of intergenerational conversations and climate change education as a form of mitigation. And if you had any doubts at all, I'm going to give you 2 fun facts. If just 16% of secondary schools around the world in middle and high income countries studied climate change, it could cut 19 gigatons of carbon dioxide by 2050. And my second fun fact for you is that climate change education can directly reduce energy consumption in individual homes by more than 15% and in schools by more than 30%. Just having climate education in those institutions. So it is a primary source of mitigation. So we're trying to do our part. For those of you that have been around for a while, we have had a 5-year path. In 2020, it was I like to call that the throw the spaghetti against the wall year. That was when we got our first funding, and we had a very long in-person education program. And when the world shut down, we had to figure out what to do with that. And so we created online modules. That was our year of program testing. And then we went into program refinement and figuring out how to create something that was going to work. We created these online modules, and that grew like crazy. That was way out of control. We were doubling our numbers year after year after year. And so those expanded very, very quickly. And in 2023, we were thinking, okay, we've focused so much on these education programs, and we are a youth-facing organization. We should really focus on youth. And so we started trying to really figure out how are we going to really do direct to youth programming also we knew working with educators was reaching youth, but we really wanted to figure out this direct to youth programming. And that's when we started working with John Mathers, who unfortunately is no longer with us, which is why we have that long name, which we do shorten to just the Climate Action Leadership Program. But I do like to honor him with putting his name in there. And that was the year of the youth. And in 2024, when I took over as executive director, I looked at all of our numbers and I was like, this is wonderful. We have all of these numbers, but what are we doing? And we all looked at each other and went, we're not really sure. We just know we have all these numbers. And so we said, okay, this is the year of impact. And our M&E team went to work. And so they started really trying to figure out, how do we measure our numbers? Like, how do we figure out what our numbers are doing and get data? And our M&E team has done an incredible job. Later in this, you're going to see an amazing map that our M&E team made that actually is showing what each of those little marbles is doing in their community and how they're really creating impact in their community. And I'll tell you what, it is, honest to goodness, it is what makes every single one of us get up and go to work in the morning, and makes our Friday whenever a new little bubble comes up on that map, because we read those stories and it makes us really realize what we are doing. M&E is our monitoring and evaluation team. Thank you for keeping me honest with my acronyms. And then 2025, we decided was the year of action. And this is where we are really trying to spread action. I used to say we wanted it to spread like wildfire. And then I realized that I cannot say that anymore. We are a climate change organization, and I can't say we can spread seeds, because then it's like invasive species. So I don't know what I can say, but we want this to spread like a grassroots movement everywhere. And so really, when we started thinking about the year of local climate action, what we realized is we wanted to build stronger communities in wherever they were. And we wanted those communities to connect to each other across the country. And so we knew that we had entered into all 50 states and we were in 40 countries. And we knew there were similarities between them. So we wanted to figure out how we were going to connect all of those different stories to each other so that they could talk. So if there were water issues in one place and water issues in another, how were they going to connect about their action projects so that they could share stories and share successes and share strategies, so that we could really make a larger movement together. So this year is our year of action. So if we could tell the stories of 454,000 students, and if we could tell all the stories of 4,254 educators in all 50 states and all 40 countries, and if we could find a way to connect them all that was truly authentic, that would be amazing. And that's when we realized that we needed to try something different. So instead of having us be the storytellers and the face of all of our programs, we really wanted to try to get the people who were doing the work to be the storytellers. They deserved to have their voices be heard. And so that's when we sort of did some redesigning of our programming. And we decided to have our educators really be the storytellers and to be the trainers and the people who were telling the story that they were doing of the stuff that they were doing. So the movers and the shakers in their community, they are the life changers. They are the people who are working with the young people. And so they're doing the work. We wanted to elevate them. So we created our Climate Action Educator Fellows program. And we hope that this is just the beginning. And as we learn, I'm sorry, my cat is trying to walk in front of the screen. As we learn, we hope that this will be a powerful way to elevate educators and educator voices, and it'll be an opportunity for them. I'm very excited to pass this over to Alexa, who has been the brains behind this program and has been really brave and really creative and collaborative enough to test this out with some also very brave collaborative educators who are willing to test this out with us. So I hope that you will check out our annual report, and then I'm very excited to pass this over to Alexa.
Hi everyone, I'm TCI's programs coordinator, and like Leia said, I have been lucky enough to be working with all of our educator fellows since February. So like Leia said, this is our pilot program, and these are our first cohort of fellows, which is super, super exciting. Sort of briefly, the program consults full-time educators from various states, subjects, and grade levels to help TCI better serve our educator community through feedback and outreach and strengthening our community connections, developing new resources. We wanted to learn from those who know best, our educators. And like Leia said, we know we're not the experts. And so we wanted to include our core audience, our educators, on our team and get their input so that we can learn from them and better improve our resources. So that's just a little bit about the program, and I'll let the fellows really sort of introduce themselves and give you a chance to hear more about what exactly they've been working on. But it's been super great so far, and I'm so thankful that they're all here and able to join us tonight. Annie, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. I'm Annie Hornsby. I live in Franklin, North Carolina, which is a town of about 4,000 people, about an hour west of Asheville. So we're a very small mountain town. I've been teaching for about 17, 18 years, and mostly in middle school, which is an interesting place to be. And I've learned a tremendous amount being in this fellowship with some very talented ladies, teaching some very complicated topics. Um, Down on the middle school level, dealing with seventh and eighth graders, it's much more basic and hands-on. For example, my seventh graders, I teach seventh and eighth. My seventh graders are at home right now gluing and sticking things together because one of their first climate projects is to create a climate creature, a whole new creature adapted to a specific climate zone. And they're going to be bringing them in and talking about them tomorrow. But it is wonderful because this age, they can be silly and super excited about gluing things together, but they can also move on. And just yesterday, we were looking at some sample climate action projects from different coastal cities because we're in the mountains. We don't see a lot of what others see. And it was just hugely eye-opening. So it's been really wonderful for me to be a part of this. Um, Things I've been working on is kind of trying to adapt some of the bigger lessons down to where my kiddos can deal with them and use them. One of my blog posts got posted up on there about a trip I do taking kids from our little small town across to a bigger event at NC State University, an engineering event. So I think I'm going to build that one into a webinar to help other small town kinds of people get out their kids out of their little corner into some more interesting places. So it's been interesting. I've learned a tremendous amount. I don't think I'm giving near as much out as I'm learning, but it has been a great opportunity so far.
Okay, I guess I'm up next. I'm Jennifer Bergen, and I want to echo what Annie said there. We have had a chance to collaborate, and I feel like I've learned a lot about what other people are doing across the country. So I live in a very small town, Cynthiana, Kentucky, in Harrison County. That's about an hour south of Cincinnati, to give you a range of where I'm at. I grew up on a farm. My dad was a master conservationist, meaning that he implemented conservation practices on his farm, and he was acknowledged for that. And that just instilled in me the conservation mindset. And I went to college and majored in agriculture and somehow wound up in the classroom teaching environmental science. And I teach at the high school level. I teach AP environmental science as well as on-level environmental science. And as far as work I've been doing, been diligently trying to get my AP students ready for the AP exam. So of course, we've been hitting all of the topics. We pretty much cover everything dealing with climate that you can imagine. Specifically me personally, I've been working on starting a 4-H stream team in Kentucky. We're lucky that we have a water watch program. So I've been working with people in Frankfurt to set up, it's called a little hub in our public library where people that want to do water testing can go out and test the water. And I'm going to work with a group of students, and we're going to choose a stream in our community and test that. Another thing that I just wrapped up is I work with a group of high school students on Evirathon, which is a competition. It's a climate competition. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that, but if not, I would love to tell you more. It's a great program. I started it years ago in my community, but schedules got in the way and we were able to revamp it again this year. So we had a great group of students that went and studied. We had to study in order to participate, and so that was a good time. As far as my work for TCI, I have created a blog. My first blog was about the Envirothon and the students that I worked with. I've also been working on teacher tips. I'm working on creating a resource. My goal is, as a teacher, and there's all kinds of great resources that TCI has, and I want to create something that teachers can just pick up and use without having much thought. If they need something related to climate, that they can just pick it up and use it, because as a teacher, I know that's what I could use. And I will be hosting a webinar, and I'm going to do that webinar on water testing. So turn it over to the next person.
Hey everybody, that's me, Diana Allen. I am coming at you from Southern Maine. I am a middle school science teacher as well. I teach 7th grade science. What do I do for climate? I do a lot of different things. I do a lot with plastic pollution with my students. I take my kids outside a lot, taking them and getting them out in their environment and better understanding what is happening in their environment and teaching them to be stewards of it, is my passion. Teaching our youth to be stewards for our planet is my thing. I am working on actually, I just finished a project where we investigated biomes, and we were research scientists investigating how climate change has affected different biomes from around our planet. And then we had to, before we could get started with our research, we had to build sustainable dwellings that they were going to research out of in the environment. And then they presented this to their school, talking about different ways that we can have dwellings that are sustainable and low impact on different environments, and better understanding how climate change is impacting different biomes from around the world, which we know very well here in Southern Maine, because it is impacting us all over here, from invasives to the Gulf of Maine and the fastest warming body of water on our planet right now. So some of the work that I've been doing actually, I'm really looking forward to my first webinar hosting that I'm going to be doing, which is going to be with the Maine Science Teachers Association and TCI, hosting a webinar for Maine educators around how TCI can help them with the endeavor of educating Maine students about climate change. And I am going to be, actually, I see Majid here will be my co-presenter for, hold on, I always forget, CEBE, hold on, I have it here somewhere, sorry. Help me, Majid. What are they? The Center for Ecology-Based Economy here in Maine. We're going to be presenting in May about TCI and all of the great things that we are doing as an organization. I would say so far, one of my favorite parts of working with TCI is the people that I get to work with. I've met some great educators here, and I get to work with some pretty passionate people around helping our planet and our climate. And I will pass it to Olivia.
Thank you. I'm Olivia Cooper, and I teach in Greene County, Tennessee, and we were very affected by Hurricane Helene. And so my students are among that group that is very concerned about climate change. I teach chemistry, physics, and scientific research at the high school level. I'm also a doctoral candidate in STEM Ed at Texas Tech University. I normally incorporate climate lessons in my chemistry unit, gas laws, ice cores, and I recently wrote a blog about how do we know what we know? That's one of the big questions that I get from my students all the time. Well, how do we know that? So I addressed that in a blog and I talked to my students about that. I have shared the TCI resources with a NASA curriculum group that I'm a member of. We are trying to get NASA data.
A Punnett square lists the possible combinations of gametes for each parent, down the side and across the top. Within the Punnett square, the possible genotype and phenotype combinations of the
Not
F2
mine.
or second filial generation are shown. The first thing you should notice is that there are 4 different phenotype combinations.
Olivia, if you can just unmute yourself again. Sorry about that, everyone.
Okay.
Thank
That's
you.
okay. My NASA group, the astronomy community is also very interested in climate action. So I've been sharing those resources with that group also. And this summer, along with my academic advisor, I'm going to an outdoor learning camp in West Texas, and we have to revamp the curriculum, and we're going to use the TCI resources to do that. One of my goals is to have my scientific research students, which conduct authentic research, and then they present it at the Southern Appalachian Science and Engineering Fair at UT Knoxville. I want them to, I'm going to try to encourage them to select projects that would, about the climate, so that they can use some of these resources and then do some authentic research about climate. Thank you.
And I will finish this up for the Educator Fellows. My name is Ashley Glickley, and I am an academic coach and magnet coordinator in a Spanish immersion school in Louisville, Kentucky. And I get the honor of working with our youngest learners, all of the elementary school learners. I am just honored to be a part of this Educator Fellowship. It has grown me significantly. A lot of my work is based on helping teachers plan lessons and figure out ways to integrate climate into their already existing curriculum. One of our biggest challenges is often we just don't have the time throughout the day. So it's been a very good experience learning from the other educators, the work that they're doing, and being able to think about how we can also apply that to the elementary classroom. Like Jennifer, I grew up either on or near farms here in Kentucky, and it's kind of impossible to be connected with agriculture and not be also connected with the climate. We've seen a lot of flooding and additional water this year, specifically here in Kentucky. And so we know that there are changes that are happening and it's impacting all of us everywhere. So I am very motivated to think about ways that we can encourage students to come up with empowering solutions for their community. I was also a science communication fellow for the Ocean Exploration Trust and got the opportunity to spend 28 days at sea. And in the Central Pacific, realized that while I was very far from home, I was also still very connected to what was going on in the farm. So my recent climate projects have been centered around Earth Day and getting students outside. But here, working with TCI, I've also been able to think about ways to take already existing curriculum and make it approachable and accessible for our elementary educators as well. I'm really excited planning an upcoming webinar on how to empower youth and also empower teachers to teach about climate change. So thank you very much. And I really appreciate the opportunity to be a part of a fellowship.
I think that will be me.
Yes, thank you, Majid.
Hi, everyone. My name is Majid, and I'm an outreach fellow with the Climate Initiative. I joined in November last year, and it has been pretty great working with this amazing team that we have. And so far, I worked on enhancing outreach for the organization, and also the major part of our work that's collecting action stories and how do we collect them, organize them, and share them with you all. And to sharing those action stories with you all, we have developed this climate action map. This is a dynamic visual representation of the incredible climate action stories that are being driven by youth and educators all around the world. And each, you see those drops on the map, each drop represents a unique project or an initiative, and it could be a recycling drive or a clean energy experiment in classrooms or anywhere. And what makes this tool really powerful is its ability to provide a spatial view of our collective impact. So you're not just seeing numbers, you're seeing geography, communities, and the global reach of climate education in real time. And right now, the map features hundreds of action stories, and we're continuously adding more as students and educators continue to lead change. So this is a live tool, and we'll be happy to share the link after this session so you can explore it yourself and see the amazing work that our educators and youth are doing. And I have picked up two random stories from this map, and I'll give a little bit of detail on that. And this story, this action project we got from Canoga Park High School in California. And so the students discovered that LA Unified School District had discontinued its recycling program, and with support from two of our learning labs, so they went through our learning labs and then they decided to continue this weekly ba- uh, continuous weekly recycling program. So every week they collect 6 to 8 bags of plastic waste for it. And I think it's a great example of how knowledge can translate into action and how young people, when given the right tools, can lead the change. And then we have another story, which is from, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, Spokane, Washington. And it's also a powerful example of how local action can address global issues. So this one is particularly my favorite because students were inspired by our curriculum to explore the intersection between environmental science and environmental science and social justice. And their research uncovered a major equity concern. So they're like, those are unreserved neighborhoods which do not have a green space. So they did this amazing plantation drive so that climate action and social justice are together. So there are hundreds of stories like these. Feel free to check out the map. So that's mostly about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Majid. The work you're doing is really powerful, and it finally puts a faces and places to the impact that we are doing. And it's pretty wonderful to see the little marbles that we were counting have power behind them. And some of the stories are really pretty wild. There's a student in Texas, I think, that created a water filtration system from things that he collected at the grocery store. So, I mean, just really amazing stories. We talked about the direct to youth side of things. You've met some of our educators that are obviously doing pretty wonderful things. And the John Mathers Climate Action Leadership Program is now really starting to hit its stride. And it took a while to develop it, but it was been worth the time. And now it's really starting to take off. So Ariel, I would really love for you to talk a little more about this program.
Yeah, sorry, I was speaking with muted. Yeah, so the program is 4 parts, and essentially the gist of the program is to work with teens and young adults mostly, teach them the basics of environment, climate, and biodiversity, and then help them sort of look at climate action through those lens. It's really hard to tell a teenager or a young adult to say, hey, we need you to remove X amount of carbon from the atmosphere. But it is a lot easier to get them to enter through a biodiversity lens and framework and say, hey, there's this patch in front of your school, or there's this, patch in front of a local business. Like, how can we improve the biodiversity there? And then after we talk about the biodiversity, environment, and climate, or also on the environment note, I'm in Los Angeles, and as you guys know, the wildfires happened this year. There's a lot of community efforts for soil restoration right now that are opening up. So leading people to sort of like projects that help with the environmental restoration side of things can also be really tangible, right? Because even if teenagers and young adults to remove carbon from the atmosphere, they wouldn't necessarily be able to like visually see and get that emotional payoff, right? So there's something really powerful about being able to get kids to see something. And then aside from the environmental biodiversity and climate lens, we then add a secondary lens to it, which is climate adaptation and climate mitigation. So if you don't know, climate mitigation is essentially stopping climate issues at the source. So this is really getting at the root cause of something. You can imagine sort of like a sink that is on and the water is flowing and the sink itself is overflowing from the faucet. Climate mitigation is turning off the faucet, but it doesn't clean up the mess that the sink has made. Climate adaptation is cleaning up the mess, but not turning off the faucet. And we need both. But you can see how if you only do one, it doesn't fix the other. So we teach the kids, there's climate adaptation, mitigation, and then look at the biodiversity, environmental, and climate lens. And it kind of is a lot easier to help them sort of narrow down what they can do. And usually the easiest route will be a climate adaptation biodiversity lens. So helping something in your neighborhood through a biodiversity lens, and it's very emotionally impactful once they see something that was just an abandoned patch of dirt be more burgeoning. And I'm just using native plants as an example because it's like the easiest to kind of help people visualize. But we have partnered with a school in New York who has hosted it with they're hosting it actually right now with 2 different classes. So we're actually waiting to hear what their projects are going to be. We've hosted it with Town Green, which is a partner organization, and they had a small grant from the school to do bat houses. So they worked on bat houses as their like action project. I am working with a girl from Connecticut right now who the students are in the middle of AP testing. So there's a little bit of a lull for us to get into their action projects, but they've completed the program. And we have just started with a New Jersey Arboretum. We are in our second week of carrying out this 4-week program. So we've got some really exciting stuff going on. Any questions? Okay, cool. I think we have a couple slides on it as well, if we're talking into the youth stuff.
Ariel, did you want me to go forward a slide or?
Oh, wait, hang on. I'm only looking at my own. Sorry. Oh my gosh. Yeah, the core. Sorry. We can also talk about core. I just switched from meeting to this screen. So yes, we have CORE. So CORE is a grant that we received from the state of California, and this is for climate resilience and emergency preparedness. So I actually just hosted a couple events. This one right here that you see photographed, we worked with this woman her name is Susie Hicks, the climate chick, and she's creating children's media. And she had a climate role models festival in Los Angeles. And so we were one of the role models, and we held 2 workshops about the importance of emergency preparedness as climate action. We had other organizations there as well, such as World Ocean Day, but there was a whole bunch of them. And then on Saturday, I will be working with Climate Resolve, and we will be hosting a Camping 101 and emergency preparedness. So this is going to be a 4-hour workshop where we teach people the basics of camping and how having things for camping has a really big overlap with climate resiliency and climate preparedness. As you guys know, or may not know, Spain just had a giant power outage for, I think it was a day or two. And so talking about like how do we prepare for things like that, right? They said themselves that was a climate related event, and so it's really exciting to be able to work through CORE and through this grant to help within the state of California people improve their climate resiliency. You can go to the next slide, Megan. And then the Youth Action Council. So the Youth Action Council is our small group of youth that they are college age students, and they're really great at climate communication. So right now, this is our whiteboard. We just started our new year. So essentially we have about 7 of them, and they're all interested in improving climate communication. So we're working on, I told them to pick a topic. They brainstorm topics. Each of them pick their own, something that they're interested in, that they think the public should be more aware of. And we'll be posting these on our blog, on our website, and we also started a Substack so that they can write articles about what they care about, and then turning those long form texts, as you can see here, these are the drafts where we virtually meet, and then we read them and we share, we critique them and whatnot. We're going to turn these long form texts into engaging social media posts. So yeah. This
Hello.
one, oh yeah,
Oh.
go.
Did you need to say something?
No,
Go
no,
ahead.
that was no, you're all good.
Okay. All right. Hello. My name is Luis Barrero, and I am I'm part of the marketing communications team here at TCI. And our job on the comms team, especially this month, was turning these action stories you just heard and more into these digestible visual storytelling content for our audiences. And the educator stories, the youth stories, they've all been amazing, and they've had significant impact on their communities. And I think the more that we can spread that impact, the more mission support TCI will receive, and the more resources we can provide, and the more that we can inspire future climate leaders and everyday folk to kind of go take action. If you're signed up to our newsletter, you may have seen some more of our awesome stories this month. We've had students in Colorado working on health standards and their water purity in their local community. One of our popular ones was the esteemed Melissa Lucci and her Freeport High School students. She and her students turned invasive species of crab into lunch for chickens on a local eco farm, which is really cool. And our social media ads, they like loved it. And we also had, I think Daniel was on the call. He might have dropped, but a student from Texas, he had organized waste cleanup in his local waterways in Texas, which is also really cool. So thank you all for that. And these students and educators, they can all take the time to go out and find and approach different ways to find kind of solutions, climate solutions in their communities. So if they can do it, I think it's something that we can all do too.
All right. I don't know about all of you, but I'm feeling so inspired after hearing all of these wonderful stories from our educators, from the TCI team, and seeing all the wonderful work that's happening throughout the United States and across the globe using TCI resources. And it wouldn't be the end of Earth Month if we didn't make a small ask here today for you all. If you're feeling inspired and are able to do so, this QR code goes to our donate page, and we appreciate a gift of any size that goes directly towards all of the amazing work and supporting the folks that are on this call, both staff and educators, and of course the students that are out here changing the world. So I hope you'll join me in making a gift. And if you can't make a gift, just sharing TCI, sharing our stories, sharing our vision with those in your network makes the difference in making this magic happen. And I'll pass it to Megan.
Awesome. Thanks, Amanda. So I just wanted to share with you all a few upcoming ways that you can connect with TCI.
So I will start from the top. So we are going to start sharing out publicly more of these stories of change like Majid shared. So our first one is May 28th, and you'll be hearing about that in our newsletter, on social. But we would love if folks start to join us to hear directly from educators and from youth and students who are utilizing our resources to make change in their communities. So that is one way to connect with us. Another way, if you're an educator joining us tonight, we have Educator Fellow webinars coming up as well as office hours. We love to connect with our educators one-on-one. So we have our Educator Hub now, which is always sharing all of the different ways that you can connect with our team and our program staff, but just wanted to mention these specifically. So Ariel talked to us about the Climate Action Leadership Program. Maybe there's a potential partner on this call tonight. So if you have a group of youth that you would love to help train to be climate leaders in your community, get in touch with us and Ariel, and we can give you those tools to make that a reality. Looking ahead, we have our 5th annual Climate Educators Retreat this July, which is incredible. This program has grown every year, and we would love for people to bookmark that. And there will be a lot more coming out to bring educators to that incredible event, as well as pre-service educators this year. And then if you are local, please join us Monday evening at the University of New England. Melissa, who is on this call, as well as Pam Morgan, our board member. It's Youth Climate Action Night, and it's all about innovative youth solutions to the Gulf of Maine and its climate challenges. So you can come and celebrate these young change makers and hear directly from them, and that will be at UNE this Monday from 5:30 to 6:30. So those are just a few upcoming ways to connect more with TCI virtually and in person. And I just want to close with our journey has seen us focus intensely on programs and strategies and educators and youth and impact, and as it should. Yet the silent partner in every achievement and the force that has enabled it all has always been our donors and our partners and our supporters. And sometimes just the sheer momentum of keeping up with things or keeping things going in a growing organization can overshadow the core truth, and that we are here doing this work because of the people who support us doing it. So you choose to give your time and your talent and your gifts because you believe in this mission and the importance of it, because it resonates with your values, and your commitment is invaluable, and we want to honor that fully. So tonight we ask the question to you: how can we best connect with you? What can we give back to make this partnership even more meaningful to you? Your perspective is vital to us as we move forward together. So please feel free to either say it out or pop it in the chat or reach out to me or whoever feels most comfortable to respond to. But we really do want to hear back from you and really hear from you what you guys are, how you are looking to connect, and how we can give back to those of you who have given us so much. So that is it. And we really appreciate you guys coming to hear what we're up to and what these amazing educators are doing and the youth all around the country. Lots of hearts going around. Thank you. Thanks for taking time out of your evening, everyone.
Thank you for doing the work.
Right back at you.
Yes, it's very inspiring. I check in with TCI every once in a while. I'm Tom Berry from Citizens Climate Lobby and the Planeteers, and I am just blown away by. And I was glad to have Leah give that recap of the history of TCI and how it's grown. And what struck me is the speed, just the momentum that has developed, and it's just such a organic kind of development, but it's so rapid. To me, that tells me what a hunger there is for the work that you're doing, if you can inspire people around the world to want to contribute and support you, and so that you're obviously filling a need. And as I say, I think it's just, it's mind blowing to me. So anyway, but congratulations on what you're doing, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you,
Thank-
Tom. You've always been a very avid supporter, so thank you.
Yeah. Oh, and this is a very detailed thing, but I think I'm gonna, when you're talking about doing actions locally, one of the Planeteers is Lisa Pagano. She's a science teacher, I think down in Hampton. She lives in Kennebunk, but she teaches high school. And I'll put her in touch with you, because if you're going to be doing like local, you know, dealing with like more of community, because she's been involved in the with the Planeteers doing wild seed project, and like planting wildflowers, and what they call them, what do they call them? Murder strips, which is a really weird name for me. But it's like the piece of land, public land between the sidewalk and the curb. There's always like a little strip of grass, you know. But
Yeah.
planting wildflowers in those things, I think they belong to the town. They're not like private property. But so that's one of her projects. So I mean, like that kind of thing, I think might be right up your alley. Um, but I'll mention to her that about. I mean, I know she knows about TCI, but if there's an opportunity for her and the Planeteers to be involved in that, I'm sure that she'd really be interested in that.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Okay. All right. Well, great to see you all. Thanks so much.
Thanks again, Tom.
Mhm.
All right. Unless anyone has another hand to raise or a story to tell or something to share. Anyone? Then we will let everybody go back to their Thursday evenings here.
Thanks, you guys.
Thanks,
Thank you all,
everybody.
the
Thank
teachers.
you
You guys
all.
were awesome. Thank you so much for your stories.
Thanks, team.